Hi, today we are going to show you how to make fondant coins. The first ingredient you will need for this project is fondant. You will need a white fondant base and colored fondant to give you a bit more variety in what you are making. The next thing that you will need is a fondant roller. This makes sure that your fondant is the same depth the whole way through using these rubber circles. The next thing that you will need is a fondant smoother. The fondant smoother makes sure that it is nice and flat the whole way down the fondant. The next thing that you will need is cookie cutters in whatever shape you are planning to make. Lastly, you will need some food decorating pens, which are just like normal pens or markers, but they just work on food and fondant. Before you start this project, make sure that your surface and your hands are clean and dry. The dry part because fondant melts on contact with water. The clean part because whatever is on your surface or your hands will end up in the food, which will end up in your mouth. After you get out your room temperature fondant, you will want to knead the fondant by pulling it and stretching it so that while it was in the pantry for who knows how long, you can still make it nice and soft. Once you've completed kneading the fondant, you will want to add your color and or flavor. For this project, I'm going to use blue. Make sure that you always knead the colored fondant as well as the white fondant. That way it'll mix in properly. What I'm doing right now is kneading the colored fondant into the white fondant so that I will get not as bright of a color as I had before, but still pretty good. Once you're done kneading in the color and or flavor, you will make sure to put powdered sugar over your work surface and spread it out so that your fondant doesn't stick to the table. After you put some powdered sugar on the table and the fondant, you will roll it out using one of these bands. I'm going to use the shorter one, which means that I have to take the taller ones off. Once you've got it as wide as you would like, you should always turn it and then roll it the other direction so that it will be as wide of a surface as you can get. Once the roller starts to stick to the fondant, you should make sure, like this, to add more powdered sugar to the top of it. Once you've finished rolling out your fondant, then you will need to use your fondant smoother. In this case, it got pretty smooth just using the roller, but in other cases you might have to use this so that it'll get a consistent flatness. Next, you will want to use whatever cookie cutter shapes that you want. So basically you just get it as close as you can to the edge and then press down. Usually you'll get a nice clean finish, but if you don't press down hard enough, it won't show up. Once you've cut out the shapes that you would like, to get them out, all you have to do is peel up the fondant and move whatever shapes you cut out to the side. Once you're done cutting out your circles or whatever shape you're going to use, you can now start using the decorative pens. For these, you want to make sure not to press too hard or too lightly, because neither will show up very well. But once you're done, and if you did it well, you get a pretty impressive result. Another thing you can do with these shapes is you can layer them on top of each other. But for this, you will need a little bit of water to help seal them. So what I most often do is I get a little bit of water on my finger, spread it around on whatever I'm trying to glue together, and then stick it on top. You might have to wait a few minutes, but after that, it looks pretty good. I hoped you enjoyed this video and learned a little something about fondant. There is many fondant recipes online, and most likely you can get it at your local decorative store. The only question left to ask is, what will you make?